presentation of our 23-24 financial audit, and welcome Mr. Dunmeyer, Finance Director, to set us up and I assume introduce Mr. Simovic.
Yes. So as you mentioned, we just are in the final stages of our fiscal year 23-24 audit, and our auditors, Keith Simovic and Ida Alvarado, are here with us. We met, they met with us in the audit committee meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago. We went over the audit and made a couple of small revisions, and then one small one after, and I mentioned those in my staff report. The draft that was included with the packet is the final draft, and yeah, Keith and Ida are here to present, so we'll turn it over to them.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark, for the introduction, and thank you, commissioners. Excited to be here as we are at the tail end of the audit process. So this is our chance to share those results with all of you and answer any questions that you might have. I'd say overall, very, very good, smooth process this year. And I think you'll be pleased with the results that you'll see that we'll go over in our presentation, which I know we've got that up, and we'll try and share that. Actually, Ida, do you want to go ahead and share it?
Yeah, I can share, Keith. I think I have it set up to present.
So you're getting to hear from, while we're getting that pulled up, you're getting to hear from Ida and myself. But as you'll see on kind of one of these first few slides, there's a number of people that are involved in this process, right? We're not the only ones that are involved in kind of going through and doing the testing and everything. So we're going to introduce, at least by photo here, a few of our other team members and the roles that they played on the audit. And just a quick reintroduction of the two of us. So I serve as the partner on the engagement. And so my responsibility is to help set our audit plan, make sure that we're following through on all of our professional standards, that the final deliverables meet with our auditing standards, and the financial statements themselves kind of include all those technical requirements that the Governmental Accounting Standards Board sets forth for MW&L, Water, and Light. And then with me again is Ida Alvarado, and she served as our audit manager this year, which we were very excited to have her. She works on a number of utility engagements with me. Spends the bulk of her time working on engagements in this industry. And so she kind of oversaw our team during the fieldwork process and helped me with some of the initial review of our file. Olga Darlington that you see pictured on here is what we called our concurring reviewer. She serves as kind of a QC review role. She's a partner as well within our power and utilities industry group. And she's someone that in that QC role that our firm requires on every audit that we do. We're required to kind of have that cold review, or someone stepping in that doesn't have any other kind of contact points with your staff, your management team, someone that's coming in and making sure that we're following through on all the things that we said we were going to do during our planning phase, and making sure that, again, that we're following all of our professional standards and those final deliverables include all the requirements that they should have. So happy to have Olga serving in that role for us this year. And then Ryan T. Was working very closely with Mark and your finance team as we went through the audit process and did a lot of the preparation work with our audit testing. So that's a quick snapshot of at least the core group of our team. There are other staff auditors involved as well, but that was the core group. On this slide, I know there's a lot of words on here, but I'll kind of summarize. This is just to give you a kind of reminder of the different deliverables you can expect to receive out of this process when you hire an independent firm to come in and do a financial statement audit. There are a number of deliverables that we have to provide once we get through all of our testing. So boxes 1 and 2 are related in really just one deliverable, but kind of two distinct I guess, services that we're providing there. So at the end of the day, the deliverable is that audit report of the fairness and accuracy of the financial statements. So you see that kind of towards the front of that financial statement document, and through all the detailed testing that we're doing, the sampling, the going back to your invoices or other substantive documentation, contracts, agreements, cash receipts and disbursements, a lot of different things that we're looking at to see is what was captured in your general ledger by your finance team a fair and accurate representation based on that underlying documentation. So we're making sure things were recorded at the right cost in the right period and classified in the appropriate account. and that they meet all the requirements of the governmental accounting standards. On top of that, not only are we kind of validating the accuracy of the transactions that are being captured in your general ledger, we're also making sure that that year-end financial statement document is put together in a manner that's consistent with the governmental accounting standards requirements, right? So they require that you're taking all of that information that you've captured in your general ledger and summarizing it and presenting it in the form and kind of presentation style that those accounting standards require, and that you've got all those disclosures that are necessary based on the types of transactions that the MW&L Water and Light has entered into over the past year. So that's another kind of technical review that we're doing to make sure that you're meeting that requirement so that we can give that final audit update. Box 3 talks about an additional report that we have to issue in accordance with Oregon minimum standards for audits. So the state of Oregon Secretary of State says, hey, independent CPA firm, if you're coming in and you're doing an audit of an Oregon municipal corporation, you also have to look at compliance with certain state laws and statutes specifically. And so there's a bullet point list you'll see on that additional report, which is typically towards the back of the financial statement document. And that list kind of shows what are the different areas that they're wanting us to look at and test each and every year and report out if we find any instances of non-compliance. The areas that they are most concerned about us taking a look at are really, are you following through on all the state procurement standards when you're going out to bid for a new contract? When they're also asking us to take a look at where you're parking your funds. So are you parking your funds in approved depositories that are approved by the state treasurer? If you enter into new investments, they want to make sure that those investments are in line with the state statutes, right? That you can't go out and invest in any kinds of types of investments that you want. There are certain ones that the state only allows governmental organizations to enter into. So that's kind of a sampling of the different things they want us to take a look at each and every year and report out if we note any instances of non-compliance. And then finally, we issue our letter to those charged with governance that is addressed to the commissioners specifically as the governing body of MW&L Water and Light. And the intention with that letter is to give you a little more information into how the audit went. So on top of what you'd be most concerned about is, did we get a clean opinion or a clean audit report? Did we have any instances of non-compliance with the Oregon minimum standards report? But on top of that, this tells you, well, did we run into issues along the way? Did we have disagreements with your team? Did we get all the information that we asked for? Did we feel like management was transparent during the process? Do we have any errors that we noted, material audit errors that would lead to an audit adjustment? Did we have any internal control deficiencies or gaps in your processes that would allow for significant errors to occur and not get prevented or detected? Those are the types of things that get captured in that letter, and we'll kind of go through tonight some of the highlights of what's in that letter. Forward, Ida. While she's working through that, I think on the next slide we go through, yes, some of our key audit areas. This isn't everything that we look at. It's definitely not everything we look at. We have to look at everything that's presented in your financial statements and risk assess each one and design and conduct procedures to address those risks in every area. But these are the ones as we talk as a team each and every year, and we brainstorm, where do we see the most risk? Where do we want to spend the bulk of our time? Some of these things are different from year to year. Some of them are unique to transactions in that specific year. Or some of them are unique just depending on the things that are going on within the organization in that given year, right? If you have a lot of personnel changes in a given year, especially in key management positions, you can imagine that raises the risk a little bit, right? Could impact your internal controls, things of that nature. So this kind of changes from year to year as we talk as a team. But again, some of them are similar just because the inherent risk involved in them. So when we talk about a utility plant and some of the testing we do there, yes, that's a large number on your financial statements, but also to process those transactions, there have to be a lot of good internal processes, procedures, checks and balances, those internal controls to make sure at the end of the day, you've got the appropriate costs going in there that represent utility plant assets. and that you capitalize those in the right period, and then you start depreciating them and recognizing that expense once those assets are placed into service, once construction is completed. So that's something that we look at very, very closely each and every year and do a lot of testing surrounding your construction work in progress. Also, the revenue cycle, thinking about all the different internal controls that have to be in place there in order for that number to be captured and presented appropriately. So we're looking at all those internal controls surrounding how do you get a bill out to a customer and make sure that it's at the right amount, at the board approved rates, and for the appropriate amount of consumption as well. So there's a lot of different processes and procedures to do that, and we have to look at each one of those individually and ensure those are operating effectively each and every year. The risk of management override of controls is not something that is unique to McMinnville Water and Light. This is something that our audit standards says that we have to have as a kind of a key risk area of every audit that we do. Just being cognizant of the fact that there is the risk that management could decide to circumvent or override your system of internal controls because of kind of the access levels that they have and the position that they hold in the organization. So we have to design certain procedures in response to that. The additional compliance procedures that we do in line with Oregon minimum standards, that's a key focus area every year with the testing that we do there. That's, again, unique to the state of Oregon. If you looked at a set of financial statements for even a utility in the state of Washington, just north of us, you would not find a similar type of report. So that's kind of a key area that we have to design specific procedures in response to the state's ask there. And then finally, some of your internal controls related to IT and user access. We want to understand what are those internal controls and processes within McMinnville Water and Light to be monitoring and ensuring there's appropriate access given to individuals as they come on board with the utility, and they're given the appropriate access that is necessary for their job, right? And if they terminate employment at some point in time, we want to know what are the processes in place to remove them from the system, or remove that access in a very timely manner. And if they get promoted or shift to a different department, is the access within the system updated appropriately, right? So we want to understand, is there any issues with how the system's set up and the access people have that would allow them to, again, override or circumvent internal controls? So if there's, for example, if the system was set up in a way where your internal control is stated that someone enters their time and then a supervisor has to come in and approve it, which sounds pretty good. But what if the system's not configured appropriately? Or what if someone is given too much access within that system and they're actually able to go in and both enter their time and approve their own time without anyone else seeing, right? Those are the types of things that we're kind of looking for to see, are there good internal controls surrounding IT user access? Go ahead and advance the slide, Ida. So those are our key kind of audit areas where we spend the bulk of our time. Now, our final audit reports, if you kind of look through the financial statements and the different deliverables there, these are all kind of the key things that you will see with our financial statement audit opinion over the fairness and accuracy of your financial reporting as of June 30th, 2024. We have a clean audit opinion. So it's exactly what you're looking for. Any third party that wants to get a copy of your financial statements, they want to know, did you get the audit completed by an independent CPA firm? Was it done timely? And did you get a clean opinion? So this is exactly what you're looking for. Of course, you have to file your financial statements with the state of Oregon as well. They also kind of look through these and get an idea of what the different audit opinions that are being issued out there as well. So very good news there. Our Oregon minimum standards report, we did not have any compliance findings or instances of non-compliance with the areas that the state wants us to look at. So from some of that sampling we didn't have anything that was deemed to be non-compliant. And then for communication to those charged with governance, a number of things that Ida is going to talk about here in just a second. But I think that one of the key things that we always like to draw out first is we didn't have anything that rose to the level of a material weakness in internal controls. That's kind of the red flag language that you want to be on the lookout for. If you hear that, that's something to hone in on to design additional procedures to ensure that you kind of patched up that gap in internal control so you can detect material errors in financial reporting. Go ahead and move forward, Eileen. I think I'm turning it over to you for the next few slides.
Yep. Thank you, Keith. So as Keith mentioned, the audit standard also outlines required communication, and so in this case, required communication to the board. So what's kind of included and encompassing is, again, our auditor responsibility as part of the engagement and as part of the audit, as well as then any significant accounting policies that are identified through the audit process, as well as, discussions with management. Management's judgment and accounting estimates, those items are all disclosed to you and summarized as well in the required communication, as well as audit adjustments. In the current year, there were no audit adjustments that arose as part of our testing procedure, so you won't see any adjustments there in the current year, but you will see a note indicating that no audit adjustments were found. Next up, we have management's consultation with other accountants, as well as then if there were any disagreements with management throughout the audit process, which again, no disagreements arose in the current year, any difficulties in performing the audit. So this could, be variances identified, missing reconciliations, any sort of delays that could stem as part of the audit procedure, causing, a delay here and there. But again, no difficulties arose this year in performing the audit, as well as then any audit observations and recommendations, which I will, touch on here in the following slide. As far as current year recommendations, we didn't have any that stemmed as part of our audit procedure, but we did want to highlight a correction from prior year's recommendation. Again, this really shows management's intentionality in improving the controls in place, as well as taking prior year recommendations into account as part of their current year policy. And so prior year's recommendation arose. There appeared to be a timing issue in when inventory was recorded, specifically, sorry, not inventory, revenue was recorded specifically related to timber revenue. There appeared to be kind of a issue in timing there from recording it in the correct period. And so we did have an adjustment again in the prior year that arose due to that, but in our current year update, we tested all of those revenue items related to timber as well as the expenses, noting everything was not only accurately recorded, but also recorded in the correct period. And so again, wanted to highlight that, really, really wanting to, give management a shout out there for improving on those controls and again, ensuring that all those items were accounted for correctly in the current year. Okay. New GASB standards. Again, wanted to kind of put this on everyone's radar as well as management's radar. You will know, just thankfully, good news, GASB has slowed down on issuing a lot of these standards. I know over the past couple of years, we've had a lot of standards that maybe weren't material to the financial statements, but took a lot of effort from management. And so going forward, we are seeing these GASB standards slow down, but did want to give, again, management just a high level insight. First up, we have GASB 101, which is compensated absences. This will be going into effect for the fiscal year ended 2025. And again, what this standard kind of sets to hold is it will require management to evaluate compensated absences. So this includes sick time or any other salary related payment, including sabbatical if that's something that's offered. So in this case, a liability will have to be recorded for the leave, even if it hasn't been used. As well as then when the leave has been used but not yet been paid. So again, really wanting to ensure some consistency there and in the compensated absences and ensuring that liabilities and the balance sheet are updated accordingly. And just in talking to kind of the finance team, it does seem like this is something that discussion has already kind of started on, as well as a preliminary review over the leave policies in place. So is on management's radar for this year, as well as then GASB 102, which will require additional disclosures surrounding concentrations or constraints. So first of all, this provides a kind of a more clear definition of what a concentration and a constraint refers to, as well as then additional information on the disclosure. So each event associated to a concentration or constraint that could cause any sort of substantial impact or event that could potentially occur will need to be disclosed within the financial statements prior to issuance, as well as then any action taken by the government prior to issuance of the financial statements, noting kind of any sort of mitigating risk related to those constraints identified. Lastly, we have GASB 103, which is set to kind of improve the reporting model that are specifically impacting the MD&A. So what it's trying to do is it's trying to make the MD&A a more reader friendly. So really wanting management to kind of emphasize the why behind a lot of the changes and the numbers that you're seeing from one year to another. Again, if you have a good set of MD&As that already kind of captures a lot of this information and the reason behind of a lot of the changes, whether that be increases or decreases, you probably won't see a big impact to your specific MD&A, but did kind of want to highlight that that was one of the changes that would be coming, is just additional guidance on what that information needs to look like, as well as, again, updates to the presentation of proprietary funds, budget comparison information. But again, high level, just things to come from the GASB that you'll want to be aware of here in the next coming year or so. Great. Did want to give, again, acknowledgements to John and Mark, but as well as kind of the rest of the accounting team and just anybody that's involved in the audit. We talked to various members of the team, whether that be payroll, work orders, IT, and everyone's always, more than welcoming and makes time for us to answer our questions above, all of kind of their existing work. So just wanted to say thank you. And again, everyone is always incredibly responsive and helps the audit really, really be efficient, as well as then the tone at the top and just, the tone that's set by management and that open door policy that we really do appreciate. And then our contact information there. So you'll see information for Keith, myself, as well as then Ryan, who, was really, really integral part of the engagement as well this year. And then thank yous.
Thank you so much. Any
Yeah.
questions, comments from the commission for our auditors or staff?
Do you feel like how do you feel about the process? It seems like it went really smooth this year.
It was good, yeah. It was helpful, just the normal, the communication that we have with our auditors is always good. I mentioned Ryan, he drafted our financials, and so there's a lot of back and forth through that process. He was great. So we're always appreciative of just working with the auditors and their response to our questions. Anyway, so it was a good process. So with the addition of Shane, our controller, that was really helpful for us this year. Shane's experience in municipal auditing for the last 20 years was very helpful as we, he came in right as we were beginning to draft the financials. So that was good. He made some real contributions for us in terms of just, moving through some questions that came up. So just very helpful. So it was good experience this year. It's always good, but this year particularly was good.
Well, great. Yeah, it seems like there's not anything that's standing out, which is kind of what you want. So yeah, thank you for all your hard work on that. I know this is
It's a
big
thing. It's
a big
everybody's
part of the
involved, so.
process for sure.
I appreciate that we have an audit committee, the two of us.
Mhm.
And I think that it's nice to kind of get that advanced look at it and hear what you guys are thinking about and what you're talking about and where you might have some questions. So I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, both staff and the auditors are very easy to work with on the audit.
Thanks for doing that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Is there action that we?
Yeah,
need to take?
so there's an acceptance process, I think, is that right?
So motion to accept the 2024 audit.
So have a motion.
I did have a question there. In our packet, there are some blank pages.
A lot of blank pages.
And I'm just wondering what those, how are we adopting it without the full report in the packet?
Have you presented the full report?
Have not received it.
Okay.
So what we received is a final draft, and the auditors communicated that the opinion would be unqualified, but they haven't included that for us. And I think that's in part because there's still, they have to get representations from management, and I don't remember what other procedures there are.
That's it,
Well,
Mark.
he,
That's
Okay.
the last piece on our side.
Okay,
he could move to accept the audit pending receipt of final documents. It's not something, it's not a, you're not, I mean, the audit's gonna be issued. I mean, you're accepting it. Or you can wait until next month.
Now, does that mess the city up though? Because I remember that they have to have our audit as part of theirs, right?
they do. So what we've done the last few years, just because of their timeline, when the audit committee reviews the audit, I'll provide them a draft copy that the audit committee saw, just
Provide them, you mean.
the city,
Mhm.
the city finance director, so that they have the numbers, knowing that, you know, it's preliminary, but, and then I just communicate with them through this that those
They have
numbers
to
are
do that.
subject to change, and so I'll communicate with them tomorrow again based on this evening. We've used this evening in the past to, you know, if there's any kind of changes or questions that would come up at this meeting, similar to like what we've done at the audit committee meeting, then those can get incorporated into the final report before we issue. So
So can you tell me again, the pages that are missing, what are those pages? What will be added back into this document? And that's for AD or key.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see exactly what's before you, but I would imagine it's just our audit report on the financial statements. And then the report towards the back, that's the audit report over the compliance with Oregon minimum standards.
It's
Each
the
one of those is
report-
about 2 to 3 pages.
The
Yep.
report of independent auditors and
yep.
combined financials.
Correct. So that's the
Yep.
report over the financial statements.
Mhm.
And then there
And
should be
there-
one towards the very end. That's going to be the Oregon minimum standards report.
So,
And there's a blank page before the comms with those
Yep.
charged with
Yep.
government.
Yes, these ones.
excuse me,
Yep.
real quickly again. If the numbers look fine to us and we authorize you to transmit those numbers to the city, but we wait until next month to approve the audit because we don't have those statements yet, does that mess the city up as far as you know it?
I don't believe it will.
They've
We don't
already
anticipate
received
any
the numbers.
changes.
But
So-
he said those were tentative numbers and they were subject to change. I think they're not subject to change now. Is that correct?
That's what the auditors have indicated, so we just have to complete the just that last step, like Keith mentioned, and then they will issue the audit. In fact, I think the plan for the auditors is to issue by the end of the week. So the audit would be issued with their opinion. That would be a final audit and we could provide that to the city at that point.
I appreciate that. I feel a little uncomfortable adopting a plan that's not completed.
Yeah.
So if there's a way that the language can be that we accept the numbers or however we need to, so that the city has certainty on that. I think we're waiting for written documents or written content to be embedded. And I don't know, how do you all feel? Am I making more of it than I should? But
I guess you could move to direct staff to forward existing numbers to the city, pending the commission's final acceptance of the audit.
Well, we might be able to go, and I agree with Jody completely. We might be able to go farther and say that we accept and approve the draft of and is it the financial statement? Is that what you call that part of it?
Financial statements, yeah,
The
the audit report, financial statements,
the part that has the numbers in it.
yeah.
And then we would then withhold approval of the full audit or acceptance of the full audit until all the documents are here.
What's the date the city finance director requested this by in final form?
Oh, they would like it in October if possible. So in final form, they've appreciated in final form that we've had it to them at just after the November commission meeting. So, but I think if they were confident in the numbers, that's what they use out of the audit is the numbers. They don't necessarily use the notes and the rest of the information in there, but they are incorporating our financial statements into theirs as a component unit.
Is there any reason that this year it didn't come to us in November as a completed document?
That's, I think, because historically we haven't done it that way. And I think the reason we haven't done it that way is, like I mentioned, it gives this body an additional opportunity to review rather than receiving a finished document. And so in the past, we've looked at this meeting as like the final review for the governing body to make any comments or any potential changes in any language or whatever it might be in the document, and then we process it, basically the same week and finish the report out with the auditor's opinion.
So we've normally been approving at the December meeting.
No, you've been approving it in this meeting
You've been approving it
in November.
with the changes that we've asked for.
Mhm.
However, my memory's bad.
I think last year we did have some changes to it,
Yeah.
but
How quickly are you able to supply the missing documents in the report?
I would imagine we'll be finalizing, I mean, Mark said before the end of the week, but I would imagine tomorrow we'll be able to release it once we get the signed management representation letter.
Would the commission want to have a special call Zoom only meeting in order to approve as soon as those documents are there, instead of reworking a motion now and sending the city a partial approval document? So as not to delay into December?
So if we're confident that the city can get what it needs to do its financials, if we wait, if we do the reworking the motion to finalize the numbers, but not approve the whole document till we see it, I don't know why we need to have a special meeting. I think we could wait till December if we're confident of that. But as I brought up, we don't want to mess the city up.
Right, that's my concern, is I don't, without finance here to say, well, here's X, Y, and Z of why we wanted it in October, and has been happy in November.
So you could do a motion like that, and then Mark could talk to the city, and we could always then have a special meeting.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah,
That's a great idea, John.
okay, so if we could have those conversations tomorrow, and if you're submitting the rest of the documents tomorrow, then I can, I'm amenable to doing this partial approval tonight. And then if you'll report back, would you be emailing the commission, or how would you be relaying that back to us?
The final audit report.
No.
No,
The question, about the special meeting.
Well,
Oh.
it's not even a question about a special meeting. It's
Does the city have what they need?
right.
Hmm.
Is that
It-
partial approval
it's
and
in its form that needed.
in its form that's needed?
Yeah.
Because if we need the full document approved, then we can have a special meeting, Zoom only.
Okay.
I mean, it would be at the soonest. I mean, if we knew tomorrow, it would still be a week out before we could do it. So with holidays, I think it'd be important to get that information to the commission to make a decision on tomorrow. And then if there's no problem, then we can just do final approval in December.
I can communicate that via email tomorrow after I talk with the city,
Okay,
if that's
Yeah.
acceptable from.
Yeah,
So
we'll just have
we
two
need to-
process. We'll just have you.
It works. It feels like at a bigger level, maybe this process is broken a
Yeah,
little bit.
I think so.
So
Yeah.
maybe before we get into repeating this next year, should maybe think about getting that fixed. I mean, if we have an audit committee, I think, to me, it's like, if we have an audit committee, then do we wait till the next public meeting to have all of the commission weigh in? Or are we asking the audit committee to take that role and sort of be responsible, be the people that answer to whether we want any changes? And then do we get a final document back at this meeting? We have to make that decision. I don't know if that needs to be made tonight, but this has been messy, so. maybe we
Yeah,
can
I
clean it up a
appreciate
little
that.
bit.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that maybe at another work session or something, but, okay, well, it sounds like we have a plan, huh? Thank you,
And
John.
You have a motion for us?
an amended motion.
I don't think there's any motion on the table.
Okay,
So a motion to accept and approve the draft audit report and financial statement and withhold final acceptance of the audit to a later meeting.
Until all documents are provided. Is how I would.
And withhold acceptance of the final audit until
Yeah, I mean,
the audit document is complete.
yeah, right, because the vulnerability there, of course, is not that I don't trust that you'll get those documents to us, but if the motion says that we can't approve it till all documents are there, it puts a lot of all the balls in your court, so to speak.
I don't think
And could
I
we need
agree
to
with
say-
Jody. I don't think it's appropriate for us to approve it until we've seen
Yeah,
everything.
no, I'm with you.
that's what it says there.
How about just leaving out that second part about when it will be approved? So the first part of the motion was just that,
Accept and approve the draft audit report and financial statement.
Yes.
yeah,
Final,
That's
no.
it.
Here,
And is that the right thing to call it, the draft?
Says
Well,
draft.
yeah, the report is the draft report, and what sounds like the proposal is to approve the financial statements themselves
Yes,
in the draft report
yes, that's.
and then leave the remainder for
Yeah.
review after the opinion and everything is included.
I
And it's
think
no
we-
longer draft.
I think we could use yours, but rather than just call it the financial statements in the draft. So we approved the financial statements in the draft report. Period.
period.
okay, so motion is to approve the draft financial statements in the draft report.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Christensen, a second from Commissioner Tankersley. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. And the motion passes unanimously.
Nice job for all
Thanks.
your.
Yeah, and I wonder on your point, Chair, if it would make sense for the audit committee to have a recommendation of how to refine
That makes
the
sense.
process.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll do that.
Thank you.
great.
Thank
Consent.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate your
Jody
time.
and I meet and talk
Thank
about
you, we
this
appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
For being here.
without noticing a meeting? No.
All right, well, we're gonna
Okay.
keep moving through here, and welcome Ryan Tim, project manager, to educate us on some easement terminations that are no longer needed.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll have.
So part of the Empower expansion that's underway included a reroute of McMinnville Water and Lights underground high voltage power line. And also included the elimination of 2 lighting circuits on either side of the property. And so yeah, we are looking to vacate those easements that are no longer protecting McMinnville Water and Light facilities. And we have a replacement easement signed by the owner for the reroute of the underground power line.
Any questions?
Nope.
Not hearing any, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
This is resolution number 2024-24, a resolution approving the termination of an easement by the city of McMinnville Municipal Corporation, of the state of Oregon, acting by and through its Water and Light Commission. That's 2024-24.
I would ask for a motion to approve resolution 2024-24.
I'll move.
I have a motion from Commissioner Christensen
Second.
and a second from Chair Tate. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. Oh, I'm
wait,
sorry, it's a
wait,
resolution.
that-
Would the
That
clerk,
felt,
would
that
the
felt
clerk
wrong
please,
when we were doing that.
yeah, would the clerk please poll the commission?
Yes, Mayor Drapkin,
Aye.
Commissioner Tate,
Aye.
Commissioner Tankersley,
Aye.
Commissioner Christensen.
Aye.
Thank you. And the resolution is adopted unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now, Mr. Dietz, the WIRA board.
Yes,
Oh, Lyra.
see, catchy names and.
Mhm.
So, as the commission may or may not be aware, we are a member of the Yamhill Regional Water Authority. We are members with Carlton and Lafayette. Dayton dropped out back in 2018. And so with the resignation of Commissioner Gormley, the commission will need to appoint a new member or commissioner to that board. And that appointment, the Commissioner Gormley was appointed back in 2012. And then the general manager was appointed as alternate. And so I was looking if there's any interested parties from the commission.
I am interested.
You are?
Yes.
Excellent.
Perfect. Great.
Wonderful.
I nominate Commissioner Christensen.
If others are interested,
That's great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So we need a motion to approve Commissioner Christensen as the designee to the WIRA board.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion from Commissioner Tankersley, a second from Chair Tate. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do I vote? Aye.
Yeah, and those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you very much.
Great, good. Thanks, Joyce.
And Mr. Dietz and Mr. Justice are now to the Miller property purchase and sale agreement.
So I think I'll speak to this. So we're back before the commission for consideration the sale of the Miller property, the transfer jurisdiction of the sale of Miller property to the city of McMinnville. This is being done under the 1989 policy that sets out the process for transfer of property out of the jurisdiction of the Water and Light Commission. We presented to, in the packet, you find the, a map. I think the map was electronic of other sites that Water and Light own. Just kind of demonstrating that there are, various properties that Water and Light owns. I think you've heard in past meetings, kind of plans of the water division. This is an asset of the water division, and that this property is not currently in any of those plans for the water division. So you'll be making findings that the property is not needed and it's surplus. That's part of the presented resolution. Attached to the resolution is a purchase and sale agreement that I've been working on with the city attorney for months. It's gone through various drafts. It's presented to you in this form in a near final draft. After it was presented as part of the packet, understand that Commissioner Tankersley did contact the general manager, Mr. Dietz, about talking with me about additional changes to the document. As a result of that, he directed Mr. Dietz, directed Mr. Tankersley to me. We talked about it over the course of a couple days. I've also had, after having discussions.
So can we wait a minute?
Sure.
So what were the changes that were made because we've reviewed this in our packet. So will you go through that?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. So,
And we're referring to these as proposed changes.
Right, sure.
correct? Yes, thank you.
So everything that my discussions with Commissioner Tankersley all related to the language related to the conservation easement and the access easement that's in exhibit one of exhibit B, which is the proposed transfer deed. And those changes primarily, and after talking to Commissioner Tankersley, I had conversations both with our consulting engineer at Santec, and also I had additional conversations with Mr. Leitenberg, the city attorney, about changes. Primarily, they related to the addition of statutory language, and specifically including language related to ORS 196, 600 through 655. That calls out, it's a statutory framework for compensatory mitigation, which is the statutory framework that's used when wetlands are mitigated through some kind of replacement, where a land is taken out of a wetland status and the entity that's taking the land out of wetland status will either mitigate it themselves or will pay into a mitigation bank to mitigate. But I think that the idea being that we're seeking a conservation easement really specifically for that type of thing. So calling out the language out of that statute, and the language that was added is language just that is lifted out of 196,600 to 655. Also, as you see there, we've left in the language from 271,715, which that is language lifted out of the statute related to conservation easements. So that basically just calls out the type of things that can be done in an easement that's a conservation easement. And then we kind of redrafted the language talking about the intention of the parties for recreation purposes, pointing out that the area is, until such time as the area is actually used for a conservation easement, will remain available for the city for open space and recreational purposes. And only becomes sort of dedicated to that conservation purpose when it's needed for a water line. The other thing, kind of redrafting that, but also setting out and extracting the access easement. Previously, the access easement has sort of been buried together with the conservation easement. We decided, or I suggested to the city attorney to pull that out and make that a separate easement, because it's actually being used to access both the conservation easement and also the pipeline, the water main that runs across the property. And so I think there's a desire from our staff, that's a desire to go access that water main down near the river. And there is an existing road that is an access road that was used historically for, I think, for putting in that water main pipe. So it exists now. And so the intent is to get a description of both the area designed for the conservation easement and also for the access easement. And then on exhibit, if you turn to the next page of the same document I've handed to you, exhibit E, what we've done here, this looks largely like what you see in your packet already, but what we've done here is we've actually labeled the conservation easement and labeled the access easement. So it's clearly labeled on the exhibit, which is which part of this orange area is the conservation easement, which is the sort of big, I don't know, what a polygon that we got in there. And then the access easement, which drops south from Riverside Drive down and terminates at the water main easement. So just trying to clarify that, because these documents are going to be used when these get surveyed. So it's a directional document. It's not a final document. It's not something that's going to appear in the actual deed, but it's a directional document that gives us clarity, gives the city clarity what we're getting, gives us clarity as to what we're keeping when we convey the property away. So those are really the only changes made to the document. So clarifying and sort of filling out the kind of the statutory framework of the conservation easement, and also separating out that access easement, making it sort of standalone, because it relates to both the access to the conservation area, but also relates to access to the water main. Other than that, there'll be some sort of I would say non-substantive changes in the body of the document, only because we've created another easement. So there'll be some sort of separation in the body of the document where it says now access and conservation easement. It'll then say access and conservation easements to make it a plural rather than singular. Other than that, the document and the proposal remains the same. I think
were these changes shown to the city attorney,
Yes.
reviewed, and what was the feedback that you got from the city?
Mr. Leinberg gave me positive feedback. He thought the changes would be fine. So he did not raise any objections to those changes, and I think we're good to go as far as moving towards an agreement.
Any additional information? Any questions or comments from members of the commission?
So can I get a clarification on
Sure.
that? we're good towards moving towards an agreement.
Well, I think we're good to, what I would propose is moving to adopt the resolution 2024-25 with a couple of sort of revisionary statements. That will explain that we're making some changes to what's in what's in the packet today. So we'll make reference to these documents that I've handed you in the meeting today. And what I would propose doing is going ahead and adopting a resolution, which would then authorize the mayor to sign the purchase agreement and send it forward to the city for further action.
And that's the expectation that the city has.
That
at
is the
this point,
expectation,
that
yes.
That's what they're gonna be receiving. Okay. It'll be great when we have this signed, I think. Hopefully we're there. Do you
Yeah.
have any reason to be concerned?
No, I mean, I am disappointed that there continues to be small changes that have been drawing this process out. But I think, you know, the expectation has been that this will arrive and that the council can review the surplus and make a decision on that. So I think if the city attorneys had the opportunity to review this, and doesn't see any concern with it, there's nothing in it that I read in your quick staff report here that gives me any additional cause for alarm. And if no other commissioners, clearly, since they were Commissioner Tankersley's suggestions, you most likely would not be opposed to his suggestions being integrated. So unless anybody else has a concern.
I'm sorry.
I don't have a concern, but I would like to thank Sam for working on this so quickly, for working with the city attorney and allowing us to make these necessary clarifications in time that we don't have to delay it again.
Yeah.
That was important to me and I appreciate you doing that, Sam.
Anything additional from you, Commissioner?
No.
Yeah. Would you care to read the resolution?
Yes, I will. Thank you very much. So a motion to approve resolution number 2024-26 with a revised reservation of access easement and conservation easement and exhibit 1 of exhibit B of the attached purchase and sale agreement as presented in this meeting by general counsel and non-substantive edits to the agreement consistent with those revisions also as approved by general counsel and we don't need to say necessarily the authority for the mayor to sign because that's included in the resolution. So that would be my motion.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
I move.
A motion from Commissioner Christensen
Second.
and a second from Chair Tate. And I'd ask the clerk to poll the commission, please.
Yes, Sam, and you said 2024-25, right?
And did I say the wrong number? Yeah, I said 26, but
I
it's
think
25, my mistake.
Yes.
I just said the wrong number.
Okay. Yes, Mayor Dropkin,
Aye.
Commissioner Tate,
Aye.
Commissioner Tankersley,
Aye.
Commissioner Christensen.
Aye.
Great. And the resolution is adopted unanimously. Thank you very much. And now we will move to Mr. Woodworth.
Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Ever hear your own voice, right? Thanks. Got a little tinnitus now, I tell you that. Good evening. The commission previously adopted a resolution to dig a trench from our High Heaven bunker to the Yamhill County Tower to facilitate our new radio antennas. However, after locates were completed at the High Heaven facility, it was determined that a modified underground path would be needed. The path was submitted to BLM for consideration, shown in Exhibit A that has been approved by BLM. The staff asked the commission to adopt the resolution to approve Amendment 2 of the communications use lease.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
No questions.
Okay,
Mr. Justice,
so
you don't
this is resolution number 2024-26. Resolution by the City of McMinnville, a municipal corporation of the state of Oregon, acting by and through its Water Light Commission, authorizing and approving a communication use lease amendment to between the Water and Light and the United States of America, Department of Interior, Bureau of Land Management.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
I'll move.
Motion from Commissioner Christensen.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Tankersley. And I would ask the clerk to poll the commission, please.
Yes, Mayor Dropkin,
Aye.
Commissioner Tate,
Aye.
Commissioner Tankersley,
Aye.
Commissioner Christensen.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will now move to general manager comments.
I
know it says General manager evaluation, yes, sorry. Making it easy.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Good.
It's for each one of us.
You.
So I'll go ahead and invited Ms. Humley up to help us with this, but I will start. The commission met in open and executive sessions on November 5th and also on November 7th, 2024, for the purposes of the annual performance evaluation of the general manager, Mr. Dietz. There was discussion at those meetings. After those meetings, Chair Tate met with Mr. Dietz and reviewed the draft evaluation together with annual goals and sought Mr. Dietz's input regarding his salary. Today in open session, the commission will have the opportunity to discuss, revise, approve the draft evaluation, which includes the general manager's proposed annual goals for 2025, and also to consider a salary document adjustment. To begin, I suggest that Chair Tate summarize her recent meeting with Mr. Dietz regarding the evaluation.
Okay, I'll do that. So I think we had a good meeting. Lots of discussion. We went over all of the subject areas and talked about goals and priorities for 2025. So I think I did spend a considerable amount of time talking to Mr. Dietz about our process, because it's been an evolving one, which seems to be happening with lots of things. But I think if you are around for as long as Water and Light, it's probably okay that things change a little bit. So I did explain that, our meetings that we'd had and the process that we have been going through as a commission to make this a much more inclusive process of all of the commissioners, and that it has really allowed us to have some really good dialogue about our perspectives and how we see things. I think in the past, there's just been like a written note and a choice of what level, how you feel about John's doing, but it's hard to get a lot of consensus and a lot of understanding around a written document sometimes. So I appreciate the extra effort that all the commissioners have been willing to do that. And I appreciate for John that it takes us long. It takes us a long time to get it done. But I think overall, my conversation with John was that, we're very, very fortunate to have you as a general manager, that you continue to consistently go above and beyond what our expectations are, exceeding the standard that we would expect for any general manager that we have here, and that we appreciate your care and your concern of the organization and the people that work here. And, we're all pleased to be on the commission with you. So
Thank you.
I appreciate that. We did have some conversation around talking about up till now, John has typically, or Mr. Dietz has typically provided us with a list of his goals for the following year. And that's been part of our review process in doing the evaluation. But as the commission was talking this year, especially in light of all the work that was done on the strategic plan last year, we kind of talked about we kind of thought about the idea that perhaps we need to think about John's role, his role as a general manager, and what his plans and priorities are and what's important to him in the next fiscal year. A lot of that is tied to the strategic plan. But then as commissioners and as a general manager position, we thought about maybe we could think about some more professional goals strictly related to John as a professional and what those might look like. So I made the suggestion to John and he was okay with it to maybe set the goals that he had put forth for 2025 as his priorities for 2025 and connect those to, you know, whatever initiatives that he's working on. And then also I presented him with the goals, the suggested goals that the commission came up with for him personally or professionally for 2025, and he was agreeable to that. So that's how the draft document presents that now, which is a change to, you know, when we looked at it before. And then I think the last part of the conversation is just around compensation. There was a 3% cost of living adjustment for staff this year. And so recommend that Mr. Dietz have the same cost of living increase. And then we looked at a 3% merit increase and a 2% market increase. And that market increase is sort of tied to what we've seen with his position in the salary surveys that we looked at. So that makes an 8% increase for this year, and that's what I'm bringing back to the commission. Any questions for me?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for everything that you do, John. We really do appreciate your care and feeding of us as well, making sure that we have the time to really dive in where we need it. I really appreciated the extra time you've given to us this year.
So that was one of the goals that I added, was the fact, I think that my, and Tom probably knows this because you've been around enough, but I take a lot of pride in teaching people about this organization and about this industry, because it does take a lot of time and it is unique. And so there is a lot that goes on under the hood, sort of per se. I mean, when you start peeling this onion back, there's just a tremendous amount of things that happen to make sure that we have power and we have water to everybody and all the time. So
Yeah.
Those are very important to me. So
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Marcy, did we just invited you to the table to?
Just in case there are any more
Thank you
questions
for
on this
all
kind
of
thing.
the background
Yes.
work and all of the information that you've helped us with and provided us with. So
I'm
I
happy to do
appreciate
so.
it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments before we go to a action?
Well, I echo what Kathy said about John doing a great job for us, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, John. And also, Marcy and Sam did a great job helping put things together. And then Kathy, thank you for leading this whole process.
Yes, and thank you for saying that, because I'm very negligent, because Sam really did almost all of my job. So I mean, he has been so helpful through this whole process, because we're changing. And it's an important part of our job and responsibility, and has a lot of legal parts to it. And sorry, you just have been really helpful in
Thank you.
in helping me to helping all of us to put together, you know, a good, I think, formal review for John, and I appreciate that.
And
So,
Kathy, I think your leadership in changing this and growing it is really important to both the organization and our future, and to John. You know, he gets a much better feedback this way than the old report card.
well, we're all working on it. So thank you.
You did.
Okay.
All right.
So I would suggest a motion to approve the annual performance evaluation of General Manager John Dietz and authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign the evaluation and increase Mr. Dietz's annual salary by 8% to $299,110, plus an existing vehicle allowance of $800, effective November 1, 2024.
I'll move.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Christensen and a second from Commissioner Tankersley. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
And those opposed say nay. And the motion passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. We'll now move to general manager comments.
So, one comment I wanted to make, actually Jamie and Sarah, conservation, so, there are additional direct dollars available from BPA for conservation. So they have applied for, an additional $1.2 million
Whoa.
for 6 projects
Wow.
that
great.
are, ductless heat pumps for low income. That would be 198 units.
Wow.
So we'll see next Friday or in the next week,
Fantastic.
29th,
That's
if we will get the funds. So that would actually, work out to about $287,000 or 287,000 kilowatt hours saved
Wow.
annually.
Wow.
And so what I've talked to Jamie about, the goal that we're trying to do here between now and the end of our contract with BPA is to get somewhere between 1 and 2 average megawatts of EE, energy efficiency, before the end of our contract.
Right.
So that would help obviously offset tier 2.
Great.
So that's,
Great.
well, and if we don't get these dollars, I think there's another program that we're gonna look at through the state that opens up in April to see if we can get additional dollars. If we
Okay.
can, so.
Great.
thought
Talk
that was,
about a win-win. It helps all of the customers
Yes.
if we have more tier 1 power, and it helps the customers that need the most help with their power
Yeah.
bills.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I think Jamie and Sarah did great getting that done.
Stop.
Great. Thank you. Any commissioner comments? I have a question and, just since we haven't had any one-on-ones, I'm, the last couple of weeks, I haven't had a chance to ask this, but I understand that the city's cost of streetlights is set to roughly double in October and 2025, so increasing by 250,000 a year.
No,
And-
so what the issue is I gave David the cost of service for 2023, which shows that we're under collecting for that class. And so the question was, having that conversation with the city about how we move it closer to the cost of service. And so, I mean, because we're gonna do another cost of service in 24.
Mhm.
I suspect that's gonna be even greater because of what's gonna happen with rates going forward. And so the question is, what can we do to work on getting it closer to cost of service?
Yeah, and shouldn't I mean, most of the streetlights are switching out for LEDs right now, so
Right.
shouldn't that bring the cost
Well,
down, not
that-
shoot it up?
That would be your first thought, except the problem is it's the components. The power component is, if I remember right, the smallest component of that cost. It's the cost of the lights and the poles. That's the bigger cost for the streetlights.
So then it's a one-time increase next year?
Well, that's what we wanted to talk about. I mean, what I was hoping to have the conversation was, can we spread it out? Is there a way to mitigate that somehow? Is there some? So I wanted to have those conversations before, like, it's a year before we do something. So I want to have those conversations with them to make sure, hey, what can we do to help the city? Because I know it's coming out of the street fund, and I know the street fund's always looking for dollars. So how do we spread that cost out, mitigate it somehow, look at other options, other ways to do something?
Hmm.
So
Down the light pole.
Adopt a light pole.
adopt. That's.
I like mine outside my house. Maybe I should just.
Actually, I think yours might be quite. So,
I said, you should just
You
look
already
at
did,
that.
you already did adopt it.
Yeah, you already
Yeah.
did it now. So anyway, that was the
Okay.
goal, is to start having those conversations before we get to, like with the fire district.
Yeah.
All of a sudden there's this, hey, what is going on? So I was trying to get
Yeah.
ahead of that,
Right,
because I mean,
Thank you.
Yeah.
it's actually, that issue has been growing every rate. It's getting worse every
Yeah.
year. So
and you said the cost of service analysis already went over?
The 2023, we're gonna do the one in 2025, so we'll see what the delta is in 25. So it's,
But the determination of the increase wasn't based on the 2023 cost of service
no,
analysis.
the commission only increased it 5%. That's why it's getting bigger, because what's happening is the rates are going up, the costs are going up faster than the rate
Than the rates.
increases.
Oh.
So that's why this is getting bigger. And it's been this way. Trina, you remember, it's been 10, 15 years like this. It's just been growing.
Yeah, at least. And we were pretty clear with the city that our intention was not to double the rates in 1 year. It was just to begin that conversation and illustrate the fact that we are severely under cost of service, and our goal is going to be to move closer to it. And I told Mr. Renshaw just yesterday in an email that while we provided the report, we'll keep them updated as we move through the next cost of service, and we'll keep them abreast of any recommendations before it just goes to the commission in a public hearing.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Any other commissioner comments or questions? Has everyone had a chance to review the financials? Okay, then with that, we're going to go into executive session. When we come back out, the meeting will be adjourned, so there won't be any additional open meeting after that time. I'd ask our general counsel to read us into executive session, please.
We're gonna go into executive session pursuant to ORS 192-660 sub 2 sub F to consider information, records, or public disclosure under ORS 192-345-23, revealing security
Happy
measures
Thanksgiving,
protect
everybody.
individuals, building, property, and information processing, and ORS 192-660 sub 2 sub P to consider matters relating to cybersecurity infrastructure and responses to cybersecurity threats. If we had any media here, they'd be instructed they are not to share matters that are discussed in executive session. I don't think we have any media. And as the mayor indicated, we will not be coming back into open meeting. We will be closing out with a closed executive session.
Great.